Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I am your host, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. And today is Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
God, once again, love that song. Love Taco Tuesday. Today we're doing actually pulled pork tacos for today. It is delicious and I would dare to say nutritious. But anyway, that's what we're doing for today. Let us know what you're doing, what kind of tacos you enjoy. Just go ahead and let us know there in the comments, which, by the way, we are live. For those of you who do not know, we are live Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we're taking your comments. I'm monitoring whether you're watching us on OpsLens, whether you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, whether you're watching us on Rumble, however you are partaking of the program. If you are partaking of it live and you want to chat, you got a comment that you want to share with folks, do us a favor. Let us know. Go ahead and give us a holler. Once again, I'll be monitoring it. And if we like what you have to say, or at the very least, if we find it interesting, we will go ahead and let y'all know. Also, want to take a moment before we get into the program and, give a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries, the best in rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today. Whether you are looking to rebarrel your current rifle or do a whole new build, check them out today at hitmanindustries.net. That's hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives to all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. In fact, Ronald Reagan once referred to the CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Check them out today at cragop.org. And then we've got Hog Holsters. They can be found at hogholsters.com. The best in concealed carry, inside the waistband, outside the waistband, tactical holsters that you can find on the market. Just go to hogholsters.com. Make sure you use the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces, one word. Just like it is, right up there. And you can get a discount today. So check them out. That's hogholsters.com. And then finally, if you are looking for outdoor gear, hunting gear, wet weather gear, hot weather gear, a lot of y'all dealing with hot weather right now, go to uscombatgear.com. They have the best selection on the web. They have great prices. They have fast shipping, veteran-owned and operated. Check them out today. That is uscombatgear.com. All right, now that we have gotten into the details, let's go ahead and have a convo about the issues of the day. And leading off the issues of today, well, let's just say that Nancy Pelosi actually admitted on January 6th something that we have known, pretty much since around that time. And that was that she actually had played a role, or at least had some accountability hold on one more. There we go. Nancy Pelosi admits she did not have any accountability for the lack of security on January 6th. Now, before we get into reading the article, let's go ahead and listen to the tape where she was recorded. Now, mind you, this was the day of. This was as they were leaving the Capitol, as they were in the car leaving the Capitol. This is what Nancy Pelosi had to share.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had been. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
All right, so let's kind of put this all in perspective. So this was, once again, they're leaving, and Nancy Pelosi at this point is acting like she had absolutely no idea why there were not National Guard troops there, and that pretty much sums up, if you go and you read the article here, and this is from the Hindustan Times. I just figured I would use a different one than the New York Post or one of the other ones. So anyway, so it says here, new video released by House Republicans show Nancy Pelosi blaming herself for the lack of National Guard troops at the U.S. Capitol building on January 6, 2021. New footage released by House Republicans shows Nancy Pelosi blaming herself for the lack of National Guard troops at the U.S. Capitol. Okay, you just repeated yourself. Okay. The former House Speaker is heard in the video talking about her lack of accountability and accepting responsibility for the lack of security ahead of Donald Trump's Stop the Steal rally. The New York Post reported that the video in question was shot by Pelosi's daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, for an HBO documentary. Well, we already saw what she said, but anyway, we'll read it here. We have responsibility, Terry, Pelosi tells her chief of staff, so now we know who she was talking to, Terry McAuliffe, as they drive away in a car from the Capitol. We didn't have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. Pelosi then seems to rebuke McAuliffe for asking her if the National Guard should be called. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff? Should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard. Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with? Pelosi says. McAuliffe then explains that they thought they had sufficient resources. It's not a question of how they don't know. They clearly didn't know. And I take responsibility for not having them prepared for more. Pelosi shot back. So now what's interesting about all this is that now, even today, now this was funny. So you didn't hear Nancy Pelosi accept any of that responsibility on the day of. In fact, she went the exact opposite. She blamed it wholly 100% on Donald Trump. And by the way, still is today. This is a headline that's over at the Gazette. It says Nancy Pelosi blames revisionist history despite video of her taking responsibility for January 6th. This is true. This is out of the this is the headline that we're looking at right here. Now, what's funny about that also is, now, if you go back and you study, just take a moment to remember what was going on. Donald Trump had authorized 10,000 troops to go to the Capitol. He had already authorized it, but they had to get the permission of the Capitol Police. You know, the Capitol Police had to request it. Is the way it works, and and what's funny is that when they asked for it, the sergeant at arms and the people who represent Nancy Pelosi said, "No way, that's not gonna work for Nancy." Now, before you people disagree with that, let's be clear. News Nation actually did an interview with the former police chief, who verified the whole thing, and this is that interview right here.
Your book seems to support the theory that has been put out by Republicans that Nancy Pelosi and her staff chose political optics over protecting the Capitol in the days running up to January 6th. Where is the proof that they were behind not allowing the National Guard to come?
Well, I think you can look at it from a couple different aspects. One, when I went to ask for the National Guard on Sunday, January 3rd, it was her, Sergeant at Arms, Paul Irving, that denied the initial request, citing a concern for optics. I think there was a well-known concern that she had referred to federal agents and National Guard on city streets during the 2020 protests as stormtroopers. So I think that was some of his concern associated with that. And then you also got to look at the oversight structure that they had in place for the Capitol Police, One, I'm the only police chief that I'm aware of in the United States of America that has a federal law preventing me from calling in federal resources both before an event and also while I'm facing an emergency like I faced on January 6th. Those are laws put in place and voted on by Congress. And also, when you think of the oversight put in place for the Capitol Police, it's political oversight that reports to political parties within Congress. No matter how you cut it, when your oversight of a police department is reporting to a political party, that's a recipe for disaster.
This is so explosive, the accusation that you make, an allegation in the book, that this was Speaker Pelosi acting politically. We reported on this back in December as well, that this is what you said that she did. I go back to this question. What is the real proof that she knew that the National Guard was asked for by the Capitol Police, by you, before January 6th?
The proof that she was aware, again, that'd have to go into statements or testimony from Paul Irving, possibly his phone records, which I think have not been released so far, that would relate to my going in Sunday morning, January 3rd, requesting the National Guard. I think when I talk about it, and I'd written it and it was in the book well before Mike Stinger's passing. When I went and talked to Mike Stinger and said, "Hey, Mr. Stinger or Mike," and I asked about, when I went to go see him on January 3rd, he so quickly turned around and asked for me to call the commanding general of the National Guard. It made me think he had some heads up I was coming. When I asked him about that, he specifically said Paul Irving had called him in advance of me arriving, said, "Son is coming." He came to my office asking for the National Guard. Speaker Pelosi is never going to go for that. We have to come up with another idea. That was something he said right off the bat. And Mike, he's an operational person, but for him to come up with that idea that quickly, he had to have some advanced knowledge that it was coming by. But also on January 6th, when you think about the fact, 71 agonizing minutes, I had to wait to get approval from Paul Irving to call the National Guard. That right there should tell you something. There are going to be records that'll indicate what communications he's having back to leadership, because I think in some of his testimony he even said he wanted to make sure leadership was aware or staff was aware that he was bringing in the National Guard. Not that he thought he needed their approval, but he wanted to make sure they're aware. That right there, 71 minutes while my men and women are fighting for their lives, that's unacceptable.
No, and look, and every second does count in a situation like that. As you pointed out, people were fighting for their lives.
All right, so that's from the horse's mouth. So when you have Terry McCullough say that they thought they had enough resources, right there you have the police chief, who was in charge 3 days before January 6th, going to the sergeant's office, going to Pelosi's office, going to the leadership, and asking and requesting that the National Guard be made available. And they were told no. How does Nancy Pelosi not take responsibility for that? How does she? The best she can hope to do is to blame Terry McCullough. That's the best she can do. Say, well, nobody ever talked to me. They only talked to my chief of staff, because the chief of staff apparently, from what he said in the car, believed that they thought they had it handled. Well, guess what? They didn't have it handled. And I could see to a certain degree why they thought they had it handled. And the reason they thought they had it handled is this, is that, while political protest and violence during political protest is not an uncommon thing, it is a very uncommon thing for those of us on the right, for people on the right. In fact, get away from, let's take January 6th and let's move it aside. Name the last political rally, a political event organized by Republicans, where it was Republicans or conservatives or the center right that instigated violence, that instigated destruction of property, that instigated trespassing, that instigated and went after and worked and attacked police. I encourage you, if you have other instances, do me a favor. Go ahead and leave those instances. Let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear what you have to say about that. But I think, and I feel pretty comfortable in this, that you won't be able to come up with one. This was a one-off. In fact, normally conservative rallies are so non-confrontational that usually, if there is conflict, let's be clear. If there is conflict, it's usually outside agitators, Antifa folks, and the like, who are coming in, and they're the ones instigating the violence. So that if there ever is an instance where it happens, that's usually what it is. But usually, heck, the place is cleaner when conservatives leave than when they got there. But you don't hear that. Nancy Pelosi won't take. I mean, at least I would say, why not offer that up? Well, I know why, because then that would be kind of declaring that, well, Democrats, your folks tend towards political violence, and polls have shown that those on the left are actually more prone to believe or state, at least, that violence in the name of a political gain is okay. I'm just telling you what the polls say. You don't have to agree with me. If you got polls that say otherwise, go ahead. I know the polls that I've seen, and I don't have the numbers right here at the tip of my fingers because I wasn't anticipating saying that, but I do know that to be true. And I think if you give yourself a moment, you will believe that to be true as well. I'm not saying that if you are on the left, that you are more prone to violence, but I am saying folks on your side are. The folks you hang out with, your people, yeah, they are. They do tend to be more okay with political violence, or, whatever shall we say, by whatever means necessary. All right, moving on to our next story. Hunter Biden found guilty on all gun charges. I got to be real with you. This was one, if there was ever a municipality or a place or a location where Hunter Biden could have gotten off, this was it. I honestly was not sure that he would be found guilty. But, I'll put it to you this way. If this had been one of the Obama girls, there's no way they would have found them guilty. Of course, there's no way I think they would have been doing something. But that having been said, Hunter Biden was found guilty, and for good reason. Definitely for good reason. And let's go over to the article. We'll read from the Associated Press today, where it says President Biden's son, Hunter Biden, is convicted of three felonies in federal gun trial. Hunter Biden was convicted Tuesday of all three felony charges related to the purchase of a purchase of a gun in 2018, when prosecutors argued that the president's son lied on a mandatory gun purchase form by saying he was not illegally using or addicted to drugs. Hunter Biden stared straight ahead and showed little emotion as the verdict was read after the jury deliberations lasted only 3 hours over 2 days. He hugged his attorneys and smiled wanly and kissed his wife, Melissa, before leaving the courtroom with her. President Joe Biden issued a statement shortly after the verdict saying he would accept the outcome of the case and continue to respect the judicial process as Hunter considers an appeal. Now, what do we know about the conviction? What happened? Jurors found Hunter Biden guilty of lying on a federally licensed illegally having a gun for 11 days. Key witnesses, Hunter Biden's defenders do not get anywhere near the maximum, and it's unclear whether the judge would sentence him to do any time behind bars. Now, let's lay that out. So in essence, he bought a gun. He lied on the form because clearly, based on the evidence, and it's kind of funny that they talk about they had the ex-wife and they had the former girlfriend testify about him being addicted to drugs and crack pipe. They didn't mention at all any of the photos or anything. All of the evidence that was on the Hunter Biden laptop, the one that we all know exists, the one that the FBI lied about. Yeah, that one. The one the FBI lied and said they didn't have, that they said there was Russian disinformation so that Joe Biden could win the election. Yeah, that one. Which is why, by the way, that's why this whole thing that's going on right now is literally just the tip of the iceberg. Because see, now the the laptop has been verified. Now that they've confirmed pretty much that it's theirs, we now know that this thing, it's a matter of court record that this was his laptop. All of the other stuff that's on there, the tax stuff. And see, the tax stuff is then going to lead to the political stuff, the acting as a lobbying for a foreign country, right? Basically, being a lobbying lobbying on behalf of a foreign country, like China, like Ukraine, like them. Yeah, that's going to basically be that's going to come out. He didn't pay taxes on any of that money. The thing where he collected millions, tens of millions of dollars and didn't pay a single penny of tax on any of it. Yeah, that stuff is still all going to come out. But wait, there's more. Because if he was collecting that money to conduct that business, who was he lobbying? The big guy. You know, the guy who he set aside 10% for, right? There are already plenty of witnesses. So, folks, this is a house of cards. And this house of cards is slowly but surely coming apart. And it will likely all finally come apart once Joe Biden is no longer president. And they're doing everything they can to try and slow walk all of this because they're hoping that in the long run, it'll keep going. They won't have to. Hunter will never, ever have to be held accountable for the other stuff because he'll be pardoned for it. At least that's what they're hoping. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. But folks, like I said, this is just the beginning. And they once again, they want to make this so that this is all about the guns. It's not. It really isn't. This is about a lot of other stuff. We're only witnessing the very beginning of it. All right, moving on to our next story. Judge throws out Florida law protecting kids. Now, Florida's passed a number of different pieces of legislation. One in particular protected children or made it so that doctors could not perform sexual trait modification surgery or medication, could not provide such medication to minor children. I do not call it gender affirming care because it does not do that. What the care does specifically is it alters or it affects gender or sex traits, right? Whether we're talking puberty blockers that will keep a child from going through puberty, or whether we're talking about gender reassignment surgery, top surgery and bottom surgery, where basically for a young lady or young girl, her breasts would be removed, or for a male, their penis would be removed, and they would carve in a vagina for them, what they call a vaginoplasty. Basically, because more studies are coming out, and there are studies being done all the time, that number one, they're finding out that there is zero evidence that these treatments are helping. None of the long-term studies that are being done are showing that these things are actually helping. And then on top of that, there's no evidence that they are not, there's no studies been done. There's no evidence that they are not harmful. In fact, there's evidence to the other side that they are in fact harmful. Nonetheless, that did not stop a particular judge, from overturning Florida's law, which would by saying basically it's unconstitutional for them to do that. And this is being reported by Orlando Channel 6. It says a federal judge has struck down part of a Florida law regarding gender-affirming care this week, calling it unconstitutional and created based on animus, not legitimate state interest. A U.S. Judge Robert Hinkle blocked the state from enforcing the law, which state lawmakers passed in 2023, blocking the use of puberty blockers or hormones for minors quote, to affirm a person's perception of his or her sex if that person is inconsistent with the person's natural sex. The law also restricted how healthcare workers can prescribe gender affirming care to adults, allowing only physicians to provide the care and banning telehealth as a means of beginning treatment, and restricts care by mental health workers other than psychiatrists and and psychologists. Several people, including parents of transgender minors, sued Florida's Attorney General Dr. Joseph Lopez over the law. Now, let me keep reading here. Hinkle noted the standard of care for people who are transgendered as well as people dealing with gender dysphoria are generally accepted among the medical community and top medical institutions. He also said the state that the state, as defendants in the case, admitted that stopping people from pursuing gender identities was not a legitimate state interest. Hinkle said it was proof that the law was created for a discriminatory purpose. Now, all I can say is this, is that I don't know who the lawyers were who made this case, who argued on behalf of the state. But I agree, making it so that someone cannot change their gender is not a legitimate state interest. But making sure that they are not being medically harmed, in particular not being medically harmed, for an outcome for which we know it's not really going to help. In fact, can do more harm than good. The state does have a compelling interest in that. I'm wondering if they made that argument. I really am. I'm wondering if the state made that argument. Now, oftentimes what you have is you have holdover attorneys or lawyers who do a really pathetic job when they're supposed to be representing the will of the people. Well, if the will of the people isn't their will as bureaucrats, they oftentimes don't argue their best case. Case in point, when it came to California and the defense of marriage. California voted not once but twice to define marriage as being between one man and one woman. And when it went to court, our attorney generals, who did not believe in what we stood for as a state, who do not believe in traditional Judeo-Christian values, who do not believe in one man, one woman marriage, well, let's just put it this way. They did a really bad job at defending the California Constitution, even though they took an oath to do it. Well, I guess they took an oath to defend the Constitution of the state of California. They just didn't take a chance to do it well. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what they're leaning on. Anyway, I would love to go back and read the briefs. Matter of fact, I think I will go back and read the briefs because I want to see what kind of case they were making, because this right here sounds like a bunch of hooey. But then again, it is a Clinton-appointed judge. Now, why is that important? Because every single time a decision is made by a judge that supports a conservative perspective, that supports something that you and I mostly believe in, they always make sure to point out, oh, it was a Trump judge. Oh, it was a Bush judge, right? They always make sure to say that. But if it's something that they believe in, they don't often make it a point, or they don't regularly make it a point to say, oh, yeah, this was a Clinton judge, or yeah, this was an Obama judge, or yeah, this is a Biden judge. Well, this judge in particular was a Clinton judge. And did every other news source, whether it was the Associated Press, whether it was CNN, whether it was Axios, every other news source that I pulled up did not mention who appointed the judge, because they wanted to make it sound like this is law and order, not politics. And you and I know this is politics. And by the way, if you're a person who watches this show regularly, you also know that whole standard about are generally accepted among the medical community and top medical institutions, you now know that is a bunch of hooey, that now country after country, institution after institution is now saying, yeah, we should be doing this to minors. We need more info, more intel, whatever you want to call it. We need to discuss how this affects minors before we keep doing this to them. You and I know that's the case because we pay attention. Sadly, though, a lot of these folks, this judge in particular, does not pay attention. And that's why he misstated that. And I hope someone calls him on it. Or at the very least, as he stated that in his opinion, I'm hoping that someone brings that up during the appeal, because the governor has said he's going to appeal it. What do we call him? Captain Florida. Yeah, he has already said that he is going to challenge it. So I'm looking forward to that happening. All right, and now we have here this particular protester, and the reason why I know this isn't like something that is breaking news, but I really wanted you to see this because I need you to understand the background of many of the people who are supporting the what do you want to call it, the anti-Israel protesters, the pro-Palestinian protesters, or what I prefer to call them as the pro-Hamas protesters. You need to know what they're really about. You need to know that you need to understand who they really are. And the New York Post posted this, and it says, horrifying video shows NYC anti-Israel protester telling Jewish people, I wish Hitler was still here. He would have wiped you all. He would have wiped y'all out. Here's the video.
Why y'all killing people?
Why are you here? You have nothing better
I wish
to do?
Hitler was still here.
Go home. Freaking nuts.
I wish Hitler was still here. He would have wiped all y'all out.
I'm saying it was something. You're not working. I'm angry.
He would have wiped all y'all out.
All right, getting back over here to the article. A horrifying video captured a vile anti-Israel protester telling Jews honoring hundreds of Israelis killed on October 7th that he wished Hitler was still here because the Nazi leader would have wiped you all out. The unidentified man's hateful vitriol was filmed as a huge mob descended on Monday's memorial in Union Square, honoring those slain in the Nova Music Festival, with other protesters lighting flares and waving a banner celebrating the slaughter. So I want you to get this. Oh, here we go. No, I won't even get into. You saw what the clip said, so I don't need to repeat to you what he said. But I need you to understand that he was not the only one that was there that was honoring the slaughter. In fact, there are plenty of people that are right there in Gaza who are doing it. In fact, there are people who are supporters of Hamas all across the world, on university campuses all across this country, that are wishing death on the Jewish people. Now, what I don't understand is this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Hitler was probably the most, what's the word I'm looking for? If there was ever anyone who was guilty of attempting genocide, I would guess that Hitler would be chief among them. And my question here is that this guy here is like, he hates Israel supposedly because they're engaging in genocide, and his way to support them or to confront them is to wish genocide upon them? Who are the tolerant folks here? Who are the people who are accepting? I mean, think about this. 20% of the nation of Israel are Muslims. 20% of them. They serve in the military, they vote, they serve in parliament, they serve in all areas of government and business and industry and education and academia, right there alongside their Jewish counterparts. Please name me one, just one, predominantly Jewish, predominantly Arab or predominantly Muslim country where that's the case. One other. Tell me one other. We don't even have that sort of percentage here in the United States. Right? Tell me one other. Where it's in the reverse. How about that? Where it's in the reverse, right? Where 20% of the population is Jewish and is serving at all levels of government, and they're serving in academia, are there and are welcomed. Anybody? Bueller? No, of course not, because it doesn't exist. It does not exist. Folks, this is hatred and this is vitriol that you see against Israel. For the people who are calling themselves well, they're righteous and they're just standing up for an oppressed people. No, you're not standing up for an oppressed people. You are wishing genocide on people. You hate the Jewish people for some reasons, for some odd reason, and all I can think of is it's all part of your whole, BLM, critical race theory, neo-Marxist ideology. because, things happen to be going pretty well there for them, and not for the Muslims that are there. And then they must be the oppressors, and the Muslims must be the oppressed. That's why you think they're evil, is simply because of the success that they're having as a people and as a nation. And what I will offer you is this: the reason why they are having the success that they are having is because of their values. That's it. Values have, when you apply certain values to how you live your life, to how you run your business, to how you raise a family, to how you, all the things that you do, to how you run your nation, there are values that promote blessings and values that promote curses. And unfortunately, well, let me clarify. Fortunately for them, for those in Israel, they promote values that promote blessings, which is why they are the most prosperous and educated nation in the Middle East. And others are not. And they're not because of their values. And I'm just going to leave it right there at that. All right, folks, time has come for our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. Well, there's new news out from CNN, and I think they're really trying to put a damper on, or at least trying to continue to cover up for Hunter Biden in his conviction, because this coming from the Babylon Bee. Can you say satire? Can you say satire? Can you say satire? This coming from the Babylon Bee. CNN claims Hunter conviction is Russian disinformation. Yeah, pretty much. Must be. Clearly has to be. Maybe it's the same sort of Russian disinformation that his whole laptop is. Maybe that's what it is. It's all based on Russian disinformation. I get it. And then, Merrick Garland, he was at the Capitol, or he was on Capitol Hill the other day defending the Department of Justice. And you guys, we had a chance to talk a little bit about his testimony. Well, he's out. He's taken a new stand because he's tired of all the people who are talking about the corruption that's going on there in the DOJ. And then once again, according to the Babylon Bee, has stated, Merrick Garland threatens to arrest anyone who says his DOJ is corrupt. I wonder if he would do that under the guise of supposedly misinformation. Because misinformation is simply the truth 6 months from now, right? That's pretty much how it goes down. And then finally, you may have heard the case about the 3 young people who, because they rode scooters across a trans flag that was on the sidewalk and left a skid mark, they're facing up to 3 years in prison. Well, there's another kid who figured out a way to do this just in case, because these kids really wanted to deface it, but they found a way to do it and not get in trouble. Kids avoid felony by defacing Pride mural with Free Gaza skid marks. Because when you say Free Gaza, you can do and say all sorts of hateful things. Evidently, at least that's what we've learned on our college campuses. All right, folks. Well, that's almost about it. But before we go, we're going to give another quick shout out to our sponsors. We're going to start with Hitman Industries. Rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you today at hitmanindustries.net. Then you've got the California Republican Assembly. If you want to be a part of California's future today, join CRA at cragop.org. And then you've got Hog Holsters, where all you got to do is go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, and you can get your hog holster on discount today. And then finally, if you're looking for all things tactical but the gun, you find it at uscombatgear.com. And that's going to be it for today, folks. We very much appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. If you have not already done so, please make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Well, yeah, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Facebook. Make sure you hit us up on Rumble and Spotify. Those are the big pushes right now. Hit us up on Rumble and Spotify. Go ahead and follow us. And those are the 2 places where you know that we will not be censored. So go there, check it out. If you haven't already done so, please make sure you subscribe. Anyway, folks, we will talk to you again tomorrow on Throat Punch. Oh no, tomorrow's Hump Day. Whew. I'm almost a day ahead. Anyway, next week I'm going to be taking off to Fiji. I'm taking off actually. I'm taking off. I'll be gone Friday, so there won't be a show on Friday, but there will be a show. There will be shows the following week. I'm hoping. I don't know what my internet situation is going to look like. It's likely going to be pre-recorded shows. I'll record them and upload them, since it'll probably take hours for the videos to upload. Not going to be able to do live feeds from there, so unfortunately, Mike, you're going to get an extra week off. But anyway, so hopefully we'll get Mike on tomorrow. Anyway, thank you, folks. Very much appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.